Good evening. Welcome to the regular trustee meeting for Beavercreek Township. It is Monday, June 12th. It is 5:01 p.m. And if you would all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have an agenda. Are there any changes or corrections?
No, board, not from staff.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for June 12th, 2023 as presented.
Second.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
I move to accept the general ledger report in the amount of $360,841.45 for the 5/31/23 payroll.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the payment listing reports in the amount of $765,886.84 for warrants through June 8th, 2023 as presented.
Second.
I thought it was June 12th.
The motion in the packet is correct. So the
Okay.
motion as presented is
Not
correct.
on here. Okay.
Se-
So through June 12th or through June 8th?
Through June 8th.
Okay.
Second.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes. All right, we have minutes. Are there any changes or corrections?
Nope. Hearing none, I move to adopt the minutes for the May 22nd, 2023 regular trustee meeting as presented.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes. All right. So, citizens desiring to speak, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to tell us anything you like, you have 3 minutes. Seeing none, we'll move on. I'll turn it over to Mr. Rushing. There's no old business or new business.
Yes, thank you, board. We'll begin with our sheriff's office and turn it over to Sergeant Kessel. I believe he has a special presentation prior to the monthly report. Or if you'd like to begin with the monthly report at your
Good
leisure.
evening, board. Mr. Rushing. Luke Kraus will grab Maverick so you can share, but in the meantime, I wanted to announce that on Wednesday, June 14th at 6:30 p.m., the Greene County Fairgrounds, Sheriff Anger is going to have the Flag Day ceremony presentation, so you're all welcome to come out. Just a little bit of information on that for the citizens. They can drop old flags, tattered flags off at the sheriff's office. Also, there is a drop box off at the fairgrounds, so everybody's welcome to that event.
Great.
And we'll wait on Mr. Kraft here and Maverick. Were there any questions on the monthly reports? Board?
What time do the Flag Day festivities begin?
It begins at 6:30 p.m. at the fairgrounds.
Okay,
And there is a guest speaker, Chief Justice Sharon Kennedy will be there.
awesome. Thank you. I hear that's a very nice ceremony for other
It is,
people that have.
Sheriff Anger puts a lot into that for Gene, so it's a big deal to him. So it's a nice event for the community. Must be wrestling Maverick out there.
No, Maverick is bringing them in.
There he is. Finally, get to see him. We've heard a lot about him, but he hadn't seen him.
Hello, everybody. This is Maverick. He's a dual-purpose canine. We just graduated 3 weeks ago, and ready to get to work. So he's trained on all types of different things. Trained to smell narcotics, apprehend suspects, find missing people. So we're eager to get to work and Be happy to answer any questions you guys got. It's okay, buddy. You guys want to pet him, I can bring him around too.
I do.
I'll leave him with you. He's really friendly.
Got a lot going on in that
What are
head.
you doing in here? Usually when he comes in buildings, he's ready to work. Do something.
Yeah. He hangs around me too long.
He starts barking, be careful.
Hi, baby. How you doing?
Glad you're on board.
Alex, were you in Colorado over the weekend?
Nope.
Yeah.
3 weeks ago.
He is not trained to detect marijuana. Since it's,
Well, that's a relief.
I was gonna ask about that.
a pose for a photo with the board?
oh, absolutely.
Hey,
Oh, that'd be
board,
great.
you want to get in the front here? I can take a photo with Maverick and Deputy Kraft.
Brush is under good house, he's still shedding a little bit.
I'll take my phone.
That worked well last. I didn't realize he was coming, so.
Where would you like me?
I'm right in the middle. One jump's here, I've got another jump. I can do that. I know, I have failed. All righty, smile, perfect. Awesome, thank you. Did you get him? That was pretty cool.
Was he smiling?
I think so.
Yes, he was.
Dogs are always smart.
Yeah, so he's 3 years old. He came from Slovakia just a few months before we actually started training. Went through a 10-week course up in Marysville at the OSP, Ohio State Patrol Academy. He loves to play, full of energy, as you can probably tell. But yeah, he's real friendly. I have 3 kids and he loves them, so I don't see kids being a problem at all. But any other questions? I'm happy to answer them.
Congratulations.
Thank you guys for the opportunity. Peaceful. Thank you so much. Senior Sergeant? I'll approve the report.
Well, thank you, board. Is there any other questions on the monthly report? We certainly appreciate Deputy Kraft and K9 Maverick for stopping by. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if no other questions on the monthly, we'll move on to the next topic, human resources. Ms. Gutherson is on Teams and be happy to answer any questions on her monthly report. We also do have one resignation that during a transition between administrators, we had this at a previous meeting that we missed. So we did have the resignation of Carolyn, and I always mispronounce her last name, so I do apologize. Gino Domenico, within our Community Development and Risk Department. So there's a sample motion here, if the board would entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Carolyn D. Giandomenico, 2023-0612-HR-A, and with a note that Carolyn is eligible for rehire.
Second.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Thank you, board. And again, Ms. Gutherson is here for the monthly report if you have any questions.
I had no questions.
I had none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Moving right along to our Community Development and Risk Department. First order of business is a special trustee meeting to schedule a zoning case, 8:35, and our Administrator, Community Development Administrator, Mr. Grogan, is here to recommend a date and time for that.
Due to the schedule, I think if everybody's schedule, we need to try to get a hearing for the case number 835, and I think a date of Thursday, July 6th at 4 p.m. Was thrown out as a possible date. So if that's all trustees are available, there's a sample motion there. Just need to insert dates.
This is the date I did communicate a weekly briefing. So if that still remains true, then that date should be okay.
What time?
Be Thursday, July 6th at 4 p.m.
I'll make a motion number 202-30612-ZC-A to schedule a hearing to consider the recommendation from the Zoning Commission for case number 835, specific site plan for Countryside at Stonehill Village on July 6th at 4 p.m. Period.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Abstain.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Just a couple other information items. We had the community plan, went to the zoning commission hearing on the 1st, and no formal recommendations were made. We're working with staff's working with zoning commission to examine their concerns and kind of look at their overall objectives to the plan. A couple other things, Safe Route to School, just a little informational type thing. We are involved as the township and the fire department with Safe Routes to School, and Beavercreek City Schools did obtain some funding for their school transportation plan, mainly in the city side, but again, it's positive that we're continuing to work on this, on the Safe Routes to School programs. And also, just as you heard with Carolyn's resignation, we do have someone in the works for a replacement for her as the administrative professional. And we did have a part-time fire safety inspector application, but was no qualifications at that time. So we're still pursuing that. So that's all the information I have. Do you guys have any questions in regards to the monthly?
No, but it looks like you guys have been really busy.
Yeah, quite a bit.
I just want to verify the time for that meeting. You said 4:30?
For the trustees meeting,
Yeah.
4 p.m.
4
That's
p.m.
okay. Yeah, 4 p.m.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, we have a regularly scheduled zoning commission meeting at 6, and so I think 4 o'clock was positioned to try to give plenty of time in between there. So.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Moving along, we have our monthly report for information technology. I'll be happy to answer any questions if the Board has any, or at least relay them to Paragon for further response.
I had none.
I had nothing.
I had none. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving along, we'll go to our finance department. And Ms. Molden had a family appointment, so she's unable to be here. Bobby Hampster, happy to answer any questions if the Board has any, or pass along the information for further discussion at the next meeting.
The only thing I had was, it was wonderful to see in the finance report, the interest earnings of $60,000, $576 for our investments. It's having seen no investment return in my prior years when we had a prior finance fiscal officer. It's nice to see that change. So I wanted to commend the finance department. That I think the investment committee and finance department is doing a great job.
Thank you, Board. Moving along, if there's no other questions, is our Public Service Department. First, we do have a motion for amendment to our LPA agreement for some paving. Mr. Parks, our Director of Public Service, is here to present that.
Yes, this is just like a housekeeping item. I think I had mentioned in the past,
we got a 10% additional. So this is a motion to accept the $422,022 as an amendment to the original LPA agreement.
I'll make a motion 202-30612-PSD-A to approve the revised Section 3 of the LPA agreement for funding in the amount of $422,022 as presented.
Second.
Ms. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Kratz,
Yes.
Mrs. Dean.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now we have the monthly report.
I had no questions, but I did want to say that I love this report on showing the cost of the repairs that you're doing.
Thank you. Mr. Schroeder has done a very nice job at that.
He has.
Lots of extra details. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Had no other questions. Thank you.
Well, I had one. I'm sorry. What's Operation IQ?
It is our
Operative IQ.
operative IQ. That's where we get our service desk tickets and track all the maintenance of all the equipment and buildings in.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rushing, I had a question on the finance department report. So the $60,576 in interest, was that for the month of May or through the month of May, from January to May?
That would be, I believe, through the month of May.
Okay. And I'm just recalling when we had bond rates at similar rates in years, the last few trailing years before rates fell and the funds sat idle, we were in like the 130 to 140,000 of annual interest income. So this would be, we're on track for that then, essentially, to regain that then.
Correct.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, board. We'll move on to our fire department. First order of business, we have a grant opportunity. This is part of ARPA's funding from the federal government to the state, and Fire Chief Vandenboss is here to present that. And there's a sample motion, and I apologize, I am getting to it. On page 53, Chief Vandenboss.
Yep. Good evening, Board. As mentioned, this is ARPA funds that are being managed by the state of Ohio. We received this information through the Ohio Township Association, if I remember correctly. And what it is a funding opportunity for eligible workers who performed eligible work during the pandemic. And they have very specific dates and deadlines associated with that. So after reading through the guidance of the program, we have determined that our firefighters and company officers, so lieutenants and captains, are all eligible under the criterion that were set aside. And we, as the township, are an eligible recipient for those funds. And so what we're asking is permission to move forward on this and apply for the funding, and then once we receive it, to disperse it amongst the crews. What we've looked at tentatively is to evaluate the actual hours worked during the time period that is eligible, and basically take the total number of hours, divide the amount that we have for funding by those hours, and then essentially pay out our eligible employees for the amount of time that they work. So it ends up being essentially a premium, which is what the program is designed for those folks. It cannot be used to repay ourselves for any premiums that we've otherwise paid them. So for example, if they earned overtime as a premium or an OIC pay as a premium, this cannot reimburse us for those. This has to be in addition to funds that they've already received per the contract and their normal work benefits. Generally speaking, it looks like it'll average about $280 per employee. The highest will be somewhere in the low 400s. The lowest will be a little under 100, and that's based off of the hours worked during this period because we have some new employees that have come on. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions for the board.
This is pensionable.
I believe it is, yes. So the township will have a 24% premium that we'll have to pay for the funds. The funds themselves are 100%, so there's no matching, there's no payback, but it would be a pensionable amount, and we would be required to pay the pension for that.
Can the funds be used for pension to cover the pensionable
That's
portion?
an excellent question. I don't know the answer to it. We actually have a team meeting set up to involve finance and the fire department to go over all the rules and make sure we understand it correctly. And that is something that we can explore.
That's the only question I had.
I move to approve the fire department's application for funding through the state of Ohio's ambulance transportation program and to distribute funding to eligible workers who performed essential work between January 27th, 2020 and April 10th, 2023, and to authorize a township administrator to sign for the board.
Second, with discussion, so are you suggesting, Chief, then that where is it here? The total dollar amount essentially be allotted to, including their 24%, or that there would be
This is
additional funds
based
in
off
addition?
of them receiving 100% and it not paying the 24%. I guess that would be the question, if the board wanted us to, once we find out if you want us to pursue that, if it is eligible, if you'd like us to cover that as well, then that amount would obviously go down by the other percentage. But that's a total amount per hour, regardless of whether it's direct payout or payout plus pension.
And to clarify, this program, it's an allotted amount from the state of Ohio. So this $20,046.85, that is our allotment. There's no plus or minus with that. So even though the emotion, I see your point, Trustee Kretz, might be a little ambiguous on the what if, but we cannot adjust that amount plus or minus. We either accept it or not accept it.
Right. No, my only question was if you accept it and if you use that. So the first question is, can you use those funds to cover the 24% for the pensionable portion? If you can, then the question is, using the maximum amount of whatever the $20,046 is, do you want to use that? Or because really what you're doing is you're giving the $20,000, but then you're adding back 24%, the township that was unbudgeted, correct?
Correct.
So that was the question, is if you want to use the 20,000 in its entirety, can you use it for pensionable portion? And if so, it's a two-part question. Do you want to use it, or do you want to supplement that with an additional 24% that's not budgeted?
And the 24% will roughly equate to about $2,400. And as we budget for the entire year, we have vacancies and unfilled positions, so the budget can absorb that additional pension amount.
How's 24% of $20,000, $22,000? Wouldn't it be $4,000?
You're correct, it'd be $4,800.
I would need a calculator to answer that question.
I slept at Holiday Inn Express over the weekend, so I'm good. So that was just purely a question. So, because it's great and they're deserving of it. The question is, it's an unbudgeted expense, and we're in a situation where obviously our 10-year funding plan is hit. So, but it's a two-part question. You may not even have the option.
Yeah, and that's my initial inclination based off the reading is we probably could not do it, but we can verify that. I guess really the direction from the board is, if we are able to do it, is that the direction you want us to take? Or do we want to just absorb that cost and move forward with it? So I guess that was probably that's the guidance we would need. And our goal would be to have it expended prior to the next meeting, just because of some ambiguity in the deadline that's documented. It talks about the funds being expended by June 24th. But it also talks about that being the deadline to apply. So I don't know how you could apply on the 24th and expend them. So I don't know if that's a state requirement, but not us as a subrecipient, as we're going to be referred to in the agreement. I'm not sure exactly how that works. So we wanted to err on the side of caution as opposed to missing a deadline that would then end up resulting in either being an unreimbursed expense or having to pay it back. So we will be looking to do this before our next regularly scheduled meeting.
It should probably be consistent with what we did with ARPA funds. So whatever we did was all, I believe it was all taken out of the funds, so, the ARPA funds to cover both. So
Okay.
we'll have to double check that, but I think we should be consistent.
Well, I guess we need more information. We need to find out if that's even an option, and then whatever you did with the ARP funds, and match that
Well,
if that's
it-
possible. If
I was
it's
gonna
not,
say,
then it doesn't
we-
matter.
That doesn't
We
give you-
won't have time
you
to
need
bring it back to you, but
Right,
if that's
you
the
need a
guidance that you're
directive.
giving us, then we can certainly make that happen within the time limits that we have.
I would just say, just find out what we did with the ARPA funds and do the same
Sure,
thing.
absolutely.
That's not a problem at all. We can definitely do that.
Yeah, in the future, I guess I would ask the question, because sometimes a grant can create an obligation that you don't necessarily have the funds to pay for. So, so in this case, it's, like I said, it's $4,800 at the end of the day. It's taxpayer money, so it's significant, but that's fine. So the direction I think you have is to move forward and burn it. Don't lose it, because we'd be remiss in losing it. But for future reference, just because we did something in the past is never an excuse to repeat a mistake in the future, in my opinion. So if there's an opportunity to use it in the future or something like this, if other ARPA funds come across, then I'd at least like to have that explored before it comes to us, just from a standpoint of, like I said, the grant itself or the dollars are great, but they sometimes do create an obligation beyond that, and it sometimes gets lost in translation.
Yes,
When you look at the true cost of it.
And then based on the discussion, we will look at it, and if we're able to do it and it matches the prior expenditure, that's how we'll handle it. So, we may still be able to accomplish
And
that.
obviously, no one asked the question before on the last ARPA round, so. But it popped in my head, like, if that's pensionable, you may not even be able to use it for pension dollars, so it may be moot, so.
But we will find out for you.
Okay. But either way, based on what we all agree, you're gonna burn the dollars one way or another, and you're gonna get the dollars out to the people that deserve it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I see a new report.
Actually,
there's a
was there a
motion.
vote on that?
No,
Or
there
was that
was-
the
Is
discussion?
there any other discussion? No other discussion? Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
So yes, ma'am. This is the second time we've seen this. And matter of fact, I speak with Ms. Wallace earlier, and I actually share her assessment of this. It's not what we're looking for. So this is probably the last time we'll see it. We will be determining if there's a value in the product to be used for accreditation. So there might still be a place for it organizationally, but I will not be bringing this report back to the board. It just does not provide the information that we've provided in the past and that I think you were looking for. So it is what it is. It's just not very good, unfortunately. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer them, but if nothing else, I do want to just congratulate our newest CERT member, Ms. Wallace. So thank you for participating. I'm assuming you had an excellent instructional cadre, right?
I did. Everyone was excellent, and they did a great job on training 9 of us that were there, so.
So, and then kind of related to that, the Hones, who are our auxiliary leaders, had an excellent meeting with Ethan Raby, who is our Greene County EMS coordinator, and they're looking at further ways they can bolster CERT as a resource, not just for Beavercreek, but for EMA as well. And they've actually provided a lot of funding over time for us, so we're looking for opportunities to continue partnering with them.
I'm gonna be a scribe and a van driver,
Excellent.
because I can't get down on my knees to help a patient, so I'm like, okay, I'll try to do something else.
We have plenty of other ways to serve, and we appreciate you coming out and doing that, so thank you very much.
But it was I would encourage any citizen of Beavercreek Township or the city to look into the CERT program. It's a great way to spend 2 days to learn about emergency relief, and even if you don't want to be called out through the auxiliary, it's a great way to help your neighborhood, your family, and people that you care for around you to understand how to do some emergency response, contact your neighbors and your families, and it's fantastic training. So I encourage anybody and everybody to sign up.
They were indispensable working with us during the tornado response a couple of years ago. So there are real world opportunities where they can absolutely make a difference. All right. Thank you very much, Board. Appreciate your time tonight.
Before you leave, you had mentioned in your, I wrote them all down, so you wrote to us, but I want to publicly state that the township firefighters that were recognized, Craig Ward, Tim Fisher, Colin Lamb, Mike Murphy, Cassie Phelps, and Joe Mulligan, helped with the, it was the Public Service Department, was at the Beaver Cemetery and helped with the flags and helped clean up the cemetery. And so I do want to make sure that they were recognized publicly to our citizens, that they came around and did that. And one of our citizens came up to me the other day and said that not in our cemetery, but in Beavercreek, everybody put out the flags, but then somebody picked up the flags and threw the flags in a dumpster. So she picked them out. There was 41 flags that she picked out of the dumpster and was giving to the police department to take for the flag burning. So when you put the flags out in the cemetery, people, please make sure that when you take them back, that you take care of them properly and have them burnt at the flag burning. So, but thank you for your gentlemen for helping out. Appreciate it.
Thanks for recognizing them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. That's all I have this evening.
Awesome, thank you. Legal advisor, Ms. Frick?
Nothing today.
Thank you. Fiscal officer, Mr. Zahir.
Yeah, just to give an update to Mr. Kretz's question, and just to throw out kind of where we were in 2021 on the heels of COVID on interest. It was only $28,873. Last year was $135,133. So we're on track to keep moving up and gaining more interest. So we'll keep an eye on that. I did mention to the administrator about trying to schedule something for the investment oversight committee.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Awesome. All right, meetings, Miami Valley Regional Planning.
Miami Valley Regional Planning had a meeting the first of the month, actually the first day of the month. They used Beavercreek community plan in their advertisement of what was happening around the community, and I brought the color pictures to show to the trustees to have as the community plan as a roadmap for Beavercreek Township. So they showed our citizens in the planning process and shared with the community, the board members, how that plan worked, and that was about it. And it was a very good meeting, so just thought I'd share that with you.
Thank you. All right, TAC.
The agenda was in the packet. There was nothing major to report.
Thank you. All right, regional planning.
No report till next meeting.
Health department, there was a meeting at the beginning of the month, first Thursday. There was nothing to report. School superintendent, city manager.
No report. There'll be a meeting later in the month with both of those administrators.
Thank you. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and Wastewater Committee.
No report.
Township Association.
We have a meeting tomorrow night at 6:30 at Caesars Creek Winery. It was an RSVP event. That's it.
And is there anything else for investment oversight?
No.
Okay. Is there anything else for board?
No, there's not.
Oh. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
Ms. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Kratz,
Yes.
Mrs. Dean.
Yes. Thank you.